Hey guys, welcome to another video. As you know, as usual on it with most years, I always have my number 11 list with films that I really enjoy but didn't make my top 10 best of the year. I have my top 10 best of the year list when I talk about the films that I really enjoyed the best throughout that film year. And now we're on to this video for 2017, which is my top 5 weakest films of 2017. And I say weakest because, to be honest, I really never saw a profoundly awful film in 2017. To make this list fair, as always, I always try to base this on films I've actually seen. Of course, I know about the Emoji Movie and Snatched and some other really bad films that I know I don't even have to watch to know how awful they are. Thankfully, for films that I personally saw, that I saw with my own eyes in 2017, I never saw a profoundly awful film. So I guess that's something to say about 2017 is maybe there really wasn't, for me anyway, that film that really, really was awful. In 2016 I saw some really bad ones with Ghostbusters and all that kind of stuff. But for 2017, I never really had that Ghostbusters experience. I didn't really had that really, really bad film. So I'm going to go over 5 films in 2017 that happen to be the weakest films I saw in 2017. They're not awful per se. They're just films that, for me personally, really didn't work for me that much. There's things about them that I guess are all right, but I'll go over these 5 films. These films really are kind of just films that really don't work on that many levels for me. There's a couple of things about them that I'll go over that I liked every once in a while, but for the most part, these are the 5, for me anyway, the 5 weakest films I saw in 2017. I know there's much worse films that came out, but these are the 5 films that I personally saw that I thought were the weakest in 2017. So let's start at number 5, which is Split. Though I didn't hate Split, I guess the reason why it's on this list to begin with anyway is even though it's exciting me to see what M. Night Shyamalan does next for his next film, because without spoiling anything, they do set up for what he basically is doing next for his next film, and I'm really excited. It's something that he's been talking about for years that they're finally going to do. But as far as a self contained story, before seeing what exactly this story led up to, just evaluating the story itself, I realized kind of giving the movie Split, months for me to think about the movie. There's really not a lot of things about it that I absolutely love. James McAvoy is good in the role and whatever for this villainous character, but there's really nothing about it that really stands out to me as fantastic or great. Really, it just got me excited for what hopefully will be a great M. Night Shyamalan film for the film that comes after this one. So for me personally, I thought it was all right. I thought the idea to begin with was kind of weird with this guy having multiple personalities and they're all very different from each other. Just an okay film that I wasn't overwhelmingly happy with, I guess. At number 4, we have Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I loved the first Kingsman movie. Kingsman the Kingsman: The Secret Service. That was the name of the first one. It made it on my top 10 list for I think 2014, 2015, whenever that movie came out. So I loved the first one. I thought it was funny. It was action packed. I loved the characters. It was fun following Eggsy around and him meeting people and getting to know what secret agents do and everything. But then we got to Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and I was really excited going in, and the reviews were, I guess, okay at best, and I was getting a little worried about it. And then I saw the movie for myself. I'm like, because I love Matthew Vaughn, and Matthew Vaughn came back to direct the sequel for this. And I don't know, there was just something about this movie that was just off. It just didn't have that fun pizzazz feeling that the first film had. And I don't know if that's the script. I don't know if that's the directing. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. But there's just something about this second Kingsman movie that just didn't sparkle the way the first film did. Um, I just don't know if Matthew Vaughn should have handled something else, if this really proves that he shouldn't do sequels. Something about Kingsman: The Golden Circle just really didn't work for me that well, and it makes it my number 4 spot for weakest films of 2017. At number 3, we have Paris Can Wait. This is Francis Ford Coppola's wife and the directing chair for this movie. Obviously she's been married to this wonderful director who's had his downsides. I mean, come on, let's Jack and Godfather Part 3 aren't exactly great films, but the man's had his downside, so she's probably been there with him for that. So she got her hand at directing in this movie. And it was kind of set up to be this before sunrise, before sunset kind of movie with Diane Lane traveling through Paris and getting to know this guy while her husband is doing something else, and they have time to get to know each other and so forth. Though they certainly set it up to be a romance, like before sunrise or before sunset or before midnight was the third one for that series. I was kind of hoping for it to be kind of along that line, like talking about life and improving each other and stuff like that, and having fun sights of Paris. Paris Can Wait just ended up being kind of a boring movie. I just remember being kind of bored with it. I was kind of checked out and done with it about an hour into the movie. It just really got boring and not so great. I really can't recommend Paris Can Wait. I was kind of disappointed with it when I left the theater on that one. At number 2, we have Downsizing. I love director Alexander Payne. I love the film Sideways. I love the film The Descendants. The man can prove himself to be a great director. I even thought Downsizing had a great concept going for it, with people shrinking down and trying to figure out how to improve the ecosystem and to go green more and stuff like that. I was kind of hoping for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with maybe a little bit more of a go green message to it. I was hoping to get that movie. Unfortunately, Downsizing is a very long, boring, not very imaginative movie that kind of just stops about the halfway point when people are getting shrunken down. Imagine a car. You're in a car with somebody and they're driving, and that's supposed to be creativity. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they put the brakes on and don't move forward anymore. And that's kind of what Downsizing is. It's definitely a car. There's definitely a promising driver telling you a great story who has great creative potential, but the creativity just stops. It just stops at a certain point, and it just is not interesting anymore after a while. I was even kind of hoping for like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like people experiencing like big ants and just really emphasizing that these people are really small and are at a disadvantage compared to the regular big people and so forth. And Downsizing doesn't really address that very much. It's just people who happen to be smaller. So it's a film that really had so much potential and it was wasted, and it's really too bad because Alexander Payne, I think, is a much better director than that. He really should have made a better film. So Downsizing makes it in at number 2 on the list. This next film is going to upset a lot of people, so I kind of have to be careful of what I say with the next one. My number one weakest experience of 2017 in film was the film Get Out. I know people love this movie. I'm one of the few that really didn't care for it too much. But like I said, though, these are 5 films that I don't necessarily hate. They're just the 5 films I saw in 2017 that really kind of disappointed me in one way or another. And I guess what disappointed me about Get Out is I saw Jordan Peele voice act in the film Captain Underpants over the summer. I thought it was funny. I thought his role in the film was funny. I know he's well known for doing the Key and Peele skits and so forth. There were certain things about it that certainly strike me as he has a promising directing career if he chooses to go forward. He chooses to go forward with this. Certain comedic elements worked. The comic relief character in the film worked. He built suspense really well. I just thought the overall experience of Get Out, like once the big reveal happens and they try to kind of explain why things are happening the way they are, there's just a lot of things about it that really didn't work for me very much. It just felt a little preachy and forced to me. I was really hoping for a better film after hearing all this praise and buzz and Oscar nominations for it. It just really didn't work for me very much. So that's my number 5. Or those are my 5 picks for weakest films of 2017. You guys, let me know down below what some of your weakest films of 2017 are. I know there were some bad ones like the Emoji Movie and Snatched and all that kind of stuff. But let me know down below what you thought were some of the weakest films. Did you end up seeing some of those really, really bad ones? Do you agree with any of the 5 films that I mentioned that, or were they some of the weakest films for you for 2017 as well? Let me know down below. That was my 5 weakest films of 2017. Let's hope that 2018 gives us nothing but great films.